So this is the part of the press conference that was leaked last night. So this is when he's going to go in on Sophie Cunningham. He's about to go in on. Listen to what he says. Listen to what he says here, guys. Listen. Can't make this up.
So this is just disrespectful, and I don't know how JC and Lindsay they get ejected from the game when
a deliberate finger to the eye, then a brutal blindside body check that sent the league's biggest star crashing to the floor, and the referee's response to this targeted attack, they issued a technical foul to the victim, Caitlin Clark. The game between the Indiana Fever and Connecticut Sun wasn't just another contest, it was a breaking point. It was the moment that exposed a disturbing culture of unchecked aggression, baffling officiating, and a league that seems incapable or unwilling to protect its most valuable asset. This wasn't just a physical game, it was a moment of chaos that revealed a league in crisis, leaving fans everywhere asking what in the world is going on in the WNBA.
Courtney, if somebody ever tackles you like that,
nobody would ever tackle me like that. They would play with Bridget like that, and then we would have to like take it up there.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
But I'm just saying that.
I ain't nobody would ever tell me like
if that ever happened, you better crash out behind me, because I'm crashing out behind you. We can share the same jail cell. Yeah, bro.
Oh my gosh, bro. Our team would crash, bro, because they would play with somebody that's like not even like it would be like they would do that to like Bridget or like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, bro, stop fucking playing with Bridget like that before we run down on some shit.
The Storm began with a play that started as routine but ended as anything but. In the third quarter, all eyes were on Indiana Fever's Caitlin Clark as she was being guarded by Connecticut Sun's JC Sheldon. The defense was tight, physical, with Sheldon bumping Clark as she drove toward the basket. Standard aggressive basketball. But then, in a split second, something crossed the line from competitive to malicious. As Clark spun to create space, Sheldon's hand didn't just make contact in a clumsy attempt to stop the ball.
Acting and standing up for her teammate. So evil.
Damned if I do, damned if I don't.
Marina Mabrey, damned if I do. Did she just say damned if I do, damned if I don't? She just knocked someone on their ass for no reason from behind. She freaking Marcus Morris them. Well, no, sorry, Nikola Jokic on Marcus Morris.
If I do, damned if I don't.
I hate that one up.
Like, it's just basketball, man.
Instead, it swung up and deliberately poked Clark directly in the face, dangerously close to her eye. The windup was clear on the replay, the impact undeniable. Clark immediately recoiled, her hands flying to her face in obvious and legitimate pain. This was not incidental contact during a tough play. It was a calculated, unnecessary, and flagrant shot at the league's most recognizable player. This single act of aggression was the spark, the first domino to fall in a chain reaction that would soon engulf the entire game in controversy and chaos.
So you see Sheldon guarding up, playing pretty good defense. This is what I was going to give her credit on. She was not allowing Caitlin to penetrate, get into the paint, deny her the path to the basket, right? Boom, she bumps. Caitlin drives around. Look, good footwork. Okay, you stand in front of her. I give it to you. Boom, bumps again, spin around, boom, she's bumping, getting bumpy. And then that happened. I'm like, what was that? What is this play right here, man? Sheldon, what is this right here, fam? No way you just reach for Caitlin's eyes like that, her face, whatever the case may be. You reach for her head and you scratch her.
Before the referees could even blow the whistle and process the initial foul, the situation escalated from a dirty play to a full-blown assault. As Caitlin Clark stood reeling from the eye poke, vulnerable and momentarily defenseless, Marina Mabrey, a player who had absolutely no involvement in the play, made a shocking decision. From across the court, she saw an opportunity, sprinting in from behind. With the force and intent of an NFL safety coming downhill to make a tackle, she delivered a brutal blindside body check that sent Clark crashing violently to the floor.
Off me, and then here comes Marina Mabrey. Boom! Exploding Caitlin Clark like a safety coming downhill in the NFL. There was no flop there. Marina Mabrey did a straight beeline run to Caitlin Clark and checked her. You got Lexi Hole saying, JC, what the hell is wrong with you? This was all game, folks. All game. Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever were getting checked. All game. The Indiana Fever were getting punked. All game, the referees let this physical style of basketball.
The collective gasp from the crowd was instantaneous and visceral. They knew they had just witnessed something that had no place in basketball. This was a calculated, unprovoked attack completely removed from the context of the game. Mabry saw the league's biggest star in a moment of weakness and decided to escalate the violence. The message it sent was chilling and unambiguous. Caitlin Clark was a target, and on this night, the normal rules of sportsmanship and engagement simply no longer applied. And what happened next would prove that the officials were just as lost in the chaos as the players.
Why was JC foul upgraded to a flagrant one? In judgment of the officials, the foul by Sheldon was unnecessary. The contact to Caitlin Clark's face, furthermore, there was wind up and impact, and the contact to the face carries a potential for injury. Question: what went into deciding Marina should get a technical instead of something more severe like an ejection? She said the contact made by Mabry did not rise to the level of ejection. How the fuck does that not rise to a level of ejection? Someone explain that to me. I think even in the NBA that might have been an ejection. I think both of them would have got ejected. She said additionally it did not meet the criteria for a flagrant one foul penalty too. So what does?
After a lengthy and tense review, the officials emerged from their huddle to deliver a series of decisions that defied all logic, precedent, and common sense. J.C. Sheldon was, correctly, given a flagrant one foul for the eye poke. The head official acknowledged the wind-up and impact and the potential for injury, a call that was entirely appropriate, but then came the verdicts that ignited a firestorm of disbelief and outrage. Marina Mabry, the player who delivered what amounted to a blindside football tackle on an unsuspecting opponent, was given nothing more than a simple technical foul. She was not ejected, she remained in the game.
This is, of course, Sophie and Sheldon going down the floor. Sophie tries to wrap her up, and Sheldon gets to the floor, and all hell breaks loose. And Sophie said, I'm not having it. I'm not having it. We'll go. We'll go. So there's that.
In a twist of almost unbelievable absurdity, Caitlin Clark, the player who was first deliberately poked in the eye and then blindsided by an illegal body check, was also issued a technical foul, apparently for her natural reaction to being attacked. The victim was penalized right alongside her aggressor. The league's officiating had failed its most fundamental test, to protect players from blatant non-basketball acts of violence. The referees had sent a clear message that you could assault a player and get a slap on the wrist. But the game wasn't over, and someone else was about to deliver their own, much clearer brand of justice.
Thoughts on what happened there, the physicality and some of the dust-ups, I guess, during the game?
I do not understand, when you are winning a game by 17 points and you doing this, for me, a stupid foul. So this is just disrespectful, and I don't know how JC and Lindsay they get ejected from the game when they did not do nothing. So for me, it's just disrespectful, to do this foul when you are winning the game by 17 points.
As the game moved into the tense fourth quarter, the atmosphere was electric with unresolved hostility. The Indiana Fever players knew their star had been systematically targeted, and they knew the officials had failed to adequately address it. That's when Sophie Cunningham decided that if the referees wouldn't enforce the rules, she would enforce a code. During a play down the floor, she delivered a hard, decisive foul on J.C. Sheldon, wrapping her up and taking her to the ground in a move that was both a foul and a statement.
Realistically, I think Caitlin Clark is a really hard player to officiate, much like Diana Taurasi was throughout the course of her career, for a couple of reasons. Caitlin Clark regularly gets picked up in the full court. She also gets blitzed more over the course of her career than any player in WNBA history or in that period of time. And she also creates some contact herself on the offensive end of the floor. She is very difficult to officiate because of all of the contact that's happening around her all of the time. That being said, I was in contact with a number of WNBA coaches yesterday about this topic of the officiating in the WNBA, and all of them said it needs to get better, specifically the consistency, not only from one game to the next, but the consistency within a game. One coach told me, we tell our players to be as physical as they can possibly be for 40 minutes because we know for 38 of them, they're pretty much going to get.
It was a clear message sent to the entire Connecticut Sun team. If you come for our star, we will come for you. Cunningham was immediately ejected, a swift and severe punishment that stood in stark hypocritical contrast to Mabry's ridiculously light penalty. But Cunningham wasn't just any player, she is known as the team's enforcer. What many don't know is that she has a background as a black belt in Taekwondo. She understands leverage, control, and intimidation. Her foul wasn't just mindless retaliation, it was a calculated act of protection from the one person on the court willing to draw a line the referees had completely erased.
Right? Question, why did Caitlin Clark get a technical foul? After the foul by Sheldon, Clark reached in an unsportsmanlike manner towards Sheldon. What type of sense? Yo, she got hit in the eye. And then in one angle, it looks like she got damn near punched. And then she trying to get up. She trying to get the girl off her. The girl attacks at her. And then Marina comes and knocks her down. That's crazy. So you gotta wait till something happens so the lead viewership could plummet for another 10 weeks. Yo, this reporter is just a hater, whatever she is. She said no place in the game for what Sophie Cunningham did. What about what she didn't say shit about what the other two people did. She said no place in the game for what Sophie Cunningham did. That warrants further review and penalty from the lead. But you're not gonna review and penalize what Marina and the other girl.
The hypocrisy of the night reached its absolute peak in the post-game press conference. Connecticut Sun head coach Rachid Meziane, when given the platform to address the multiple ugly incidents, chose a baffling path. Instead of holding his own players accountable for their actions, he launched an attack on Sophie Cunningham. He publicly called her retaliatory, foul, disrespectful, a stunning statement given that his own players had initiated the hostility with an eye poke and a blindside assault. Here was a coach whose players were directly responsible for a calculated and dangerous attack on an opponent, having the gall to condemn the one person who stood up against it. He attempted to paint Cunningham as the villain, while his own players, Mabry and Sheldon, were implicitly framed as victims of her disrespect. This staggering double standard wasn't just poor sportsmanship, it was a toxic display that revealed a culture where instigating aggression is quietly excused, but standing up for a teammate is publicly shamed.
So it's really people out here defending Marina Mabry for Madden hit sticking Caitlin Clark to the floor, saying that she's just protecting her teammate. For one, it involved Caitlin Clark and JC Sheldon. They had their little spiel before that. And then JC Sheldon scratches Clark in the face, then invades her space after that. Clark pushes her away because of that. And then Marina Mabry comes get involved and Madden hit sticks her to the floor, man. And y'all just like she was protecting her teammate. But then Sophie Cunningham is getting called vile and disgusting for dropping JC Sheldon to the floor and dragging her by the hair. So Sophie Cunningham can't stick up for her teammate, or else it's vile and disgusting. But Marina Mabry could get involved in something that didn't involve her, and it's just she was protecting her teammate. The Caitlin Clark.
This incident, as ugly as it wasn't an isolated event. It was a symptom of a much larger, more disturbing trend that has been brewing all season. The statistics paint a damning picture of what Caitlin Clark has endured since entering the league. This season, a shocking 17% of all flagrant fouls called in the entire WNBA have been committed against her. Let that sink in. One single player is absorbing nearly a fifth of the league's most aggressive and dangerous fouls. This goes far beyond the typical rookie hazing narrative that some have tried to push. As ESPN analyst Andrea Carter correctly pointed out, it's not just rookie hazing. She's being treated like a target. Coaches across the league have privately and publicly admitted that the officiating is wildly inconsistent, with one WNBA coach even telling reporters that they instruct their players to be as physical as they can possibly be for 40 minutes, because they know the refs won't call it consistently. The system is fundamentally broken, and Caitlin Clark is the one paying the physical price for the league's systemic incompetence.
As well. Every year when we have our league meetings in the fall and in the spring, we say the same thing over and over and over. And nothing has changed. So, I'm not sure outside of continuing to submit clips, continuing to talk about it. Like, look,
bro, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Submitting clips, or y'all know in the NBA when they do that report and the official gets like the shit wrong, and then the following day they're like, oh, actually, yeah, the ref got it wrong on that. Like, that's the most pointless report. You know how mad I'll be if I got a turnover, they fouled me to, let's say, like, I'm dribbling, they stole the ball from me, but they fouled me. They get a game-winning layup. I wake up, go on Twitter the next day, and they say, "Oh, actually, that was a foul. It was a missed call. Sorry." We still lost the game. So she's saying they're submitting clips. They literally saw Kelsey Plum was damn near crying in the post-game interview about.
In the face of an ejection, league-wide criticism, and a fine, Sophie Cunningham didn't back down, apologize, or retreat. Instead, she leaned into her role as the enforcer and masterfully controlled the narrative. She posted a video to her TikTok and Instagram accounts set to Selena Gomez's hit song, Hands to Myself, a hilariously direct and unapologetic nod to the on-court altercation. When asked about it, she brushed it off as a joke, saying the sound was simply too fitting. It was a brilliant and defiant move. Instead of issuing a league-mandated cookie-cutter apology, she owned her actions and signaled to everyone, her teammates, her opponents, and the fans, that she would do it again to protect her team. The response was overwhelming. Fans rallied behind her, flooding social media with comments like, "I knew Sophie was gonna get that get back for Caitlyn today." Even athletes from other sports, like NFL linebacker Jared Verse, shared the video of her foul with a strong message of endorsement. Cunningham's defiance turned her into a folk hero for fans who were fed up with seeing Clark targeted without any real consequences. She proved that sometimes true leadership means taking a stand when the designated authorities refuse to.
You guys do know Sophie Cunningham is a hitman, right? She used to do Taekwondo. In fact, she's a black belt. That's why she had her in the Muay Thai clinch. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to mess with Sophie Cunningham. They brought her in to be the enforcer. I didn't ever think it would be Sophie Cunningham, but apparently she's got mad skills, bro. And she can murk fools. She has the strength of a hyena, bro. I don't know what it is. She looks sweet and innocent, but she will come for your throat, bro. And I'm so excited because Caitlin Clark has someone to defend the throne for her, bro. The enforcer has arrived.
The baffling calls in that game weren't just a one-night failure. They were a symptom of a systemic rot within the WNBA's operations. The problem runs deeper than individual judgment. Unlike their NBA counterparts who are salaried professionals, many WNBA referees are paid on a per-game basis, creating disparities that affect the talent pool and consistency. Furthermore, the league lacks a dedicated, centralized replay center like the NBA. This means the same officials who made a controversial call on the court are the ones reviewing it on a monitor, a clear conflict of interest that rarely leads to overturned calls. This is why coaches and players complain about submitting clips of missed fouls, only to receive a post-game report that essentially says, "You're right, we missed it, but the loss still counts." It's a system that offers no real-time accountability, ensuring that these officiating crises will continue to happen. This broken foundation doesn't just frustrate players, it's actively tearing the league's credibility and its fan base apart.
Everything that happened last night between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun with Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, Mabry, and Sheldon, all of it, it is so good for the WNBA, dude. Never in a million years would I have thought I would find myself feeling compelled to turn on a WNBA game at the same time as a Stanley Cup game in which one of the teams has the opportunity to win the best trophy in professional sports. Never in a million years would I have thought I would feel compelled to turn on that WNBA game that's going on at the same time and find myself watching it and yelling, "Drag her ass," as Sophie Cunningham is tackling Sheldon to the floor. Love it, dude. It's so good. It's so good. The WNBA has needed, and the Fever more specifically, but just in general, the WNBA has needed a Sophie Cunningham so badly. And for the record, every single team.
As the WNBA fumbled its response, the court of public opinion delivered a swift and deeply divided verdict, sparking a virtual civil war among fans and media. On one side, you have the defenders of the old guard, who argue this is just tough. Welcome to the league basketball. They claim Clark needs to toughen up and that players like Marina Mabry were simply protecting a teammate, conveniently ignoring that Mabry's attack was completely unprovoked. On the other side, a new wave of fans and analysts see the situation for what it is. is: targeted, dangerous, and bad for the sport's growth. This group has championed Sophie Cunningham as a hero. The hypocrisy became even more glaring when some media personalities condemned Cunningham's foul as vile and having no place in the game, while offering excuses or complete silence regarding the initial, more egregious acts by Mabry and Sheldon. This bitter divide reveals that the league hasn't just lost control of its games, it's lost control of its entire narrative, allowing a toxic debate to overshadow the sport itself.
Hard foul. And then there's the people that really do not like what the Indiana Fever have brought to the league, who are saying they do not like what Sophie Cunningham did. This should be assessed. This should be upgraded. And the league is assessing, and the league has been looking, and they have decided to upgrade Marina Mabry's tech in the game, of which she was not kicked out, to a flagrant 2. If she would have been issued the flagrant 2 last night, she would have been ejected from the game. But not only that, they assessed an additional fine to Sophie Cunningham on her current flagrant 2, which does come with a fine, and they assessed her an additional fine for her hard foul on JC Sheldon and the melee that ensued after.
Ultimately, the chaos in Indianapolis was more than just a badly officiated game. It was a perfect storm that exposed the WNBA at a critical crossroads. The league eventually upgraded Marina Mabry's technical to a flagrant 2 foul and issued her a fine, but only after the game was over, the damage was done, and public outcry made their initial decision untenable. Meanwhile, Sophie Cunningham was also hit with an additional fine for her actions. The league's response sent a confusing and dangerous message. You can assault the league's biggest star and stay in the game, but defending her will get you ejected and a heavier penalty. This entire saga raises a terrifying question for the WNBA's leadership. Is this a serious professional sports organization dedicated to fair play and player safety? Or is it becoming a circus where the referees have lost control and the inmates are running the asylum? When you consistently fail to protect the very player who is driving your league's growth, you're not just failing at basketball, you're committing business malpractice. And you're forcing everyone, from dedicated fans to casual observers, to wonder if the WNBA truly deserves a star of Caitlin Clark's caliber.